Hello, beautiful people. Welcome to Live, Love, and Rose Designs. I'm Kiera, and this is your space for creativity, inspiration, and all the behind the scenes moments of building a life and a business that I love. From everyday lifestyle vibes to custom creations, I am sharing it all. Because life's better when we live it fully, love deeply, and create beautifully. Now, let's grow, glow, and design something amazing together. If you're ready for inspiration, motivation, and some real life moments, you're in the right place. So subscribe and hit the notification bell so you don't miss another video of mine. Now, let's get into it. Hey everyone, it's Kiera, and today I want to share something deeply personal with you guys. Today I want to talk about my journey of becoming a young mom and how I refuse to let it define me or limit me. So, this video is for every young mom who's out there who feels overwhelmed, judged, or even stuck. I see you. I feel you. I am you. And let me tell you, it's not the end of your story. It's the beginning of something very powerful. Now, when I first found out I was pregnant and that I was going to be a mom at the young age of 19, I was scared, terrified. I was a freshman in college. I had just gotten engaged in December 2020, on Christmas Day even, and we weren't ready to be parents. We were freshmen in college. It was our second semester of college. And I was on campus, wasn't feeling good, so I decided to take a test. And to my surprise, I was pregnant. I was scared, overwhelmed, and how I told my fiance is I sent him a text and told him I needed to talk to him, and right ahead he said, "You're pregnant." And I said yes, and I sent him the text with a picture of the test. And he was on a football trip because he was a football manager, so he said we'll talk about it when he gets back. And that I was a cheerleader, so I still had practice to go to and things to do because I was a cheerleader. But at that moment, I didn't tell anybody for a few days. Um, didn't tell anybody for a few days. And I called my mom. My mom guessed it right away. Because she said she had looked at my stomach and she noticed that I guess every pregnant person has this line on their stomach that kind of gives it away. And I had been super, super nauseous and could not figure out why I was constantly so nauseous. But that was only beginning. I had this friend at the time named Allison. I had told her, and she had helped me through it. She had, especially kind of started getting morning sickness, so I was having a very hard time keeping food down. Um, very hard time keeping food down. So fast forward, my family knows, my friends know. As I told you before, my fiance was on the football team as their manager, so some of the football players know, and because they were dating some of the cheerleaders that I was cheering with, um, some of the cheerleaders knew, so I kind of had to tell my coach because the cheerleaders weren't comfortable stunting with me because I understand I was pregnant and they didn't want me to get hurt. So I kind of had to take a step back I ended up going home one weekend. It was almost the end of the semester. Um, and I was cramping and I had started spotting. So my fiance had to take me to the emergency room. Um, they were concerned because of the spotting, and at that moment in time, they could not find a heartbeat. And they thought I was about 8 to 10 weeks at that time. But so they told me to go home, kind of see what happens, and I made a OBGYN appointment with the hospital that I was going to be seeing, with the clinic that I was going to be seeing for my pregnancy at the hospital. I was in Tennessee at that time, and I gave birth at the Screaming Eagle Hospital on Post, because my mom is retired military. So I was seeing the OBGYN at Screaming Eagle. Um, so I made an appointment for my first ultrasound and OBGYN appointment, and comes to find out I wasn't as far along as they thought I was. So that's why they couldn't find the heartbeat. And the spotting was just sometimes in pregnancy you spot. But that was very scary. Um, Other than that, I had a smooth pregnancy up until about 20 weeks. But because at that time, at first, nobody could go with you, so I was going by myself. Then only one person can go with me. My fiance was working, so my mom would take me to a lot of my appointments at the beginning. Um, at my 20-week anatomy scan, I was about 23 weeks far along though. My 20-week anatomy scan, um, I found out that I had an incompetent cervix. And an incompetent cervix is when your cervix is weak, that it can dilate early. And in my case, it had dilated to 1 centimeter. Um, so at first, the doctors didn't tell me what was going on. Um, they went out. Then the ultrasound tech who was taking my ultrasound went out, grabbed the doctor. Doctor looked. They were concerned, and they referred me to a high risk doctor that was specialized in this, because at that time their clinic could not wasn't equipped for that. So they sent me to another place, and me and my mom went over there. We had an appointment. We checked in because they had referred it for 2 days later. So I went over there. I checked in with their clinic, and they did my ultrasound, and they said that it did not look good, and and I was rushed from their clinic in Clarksville to Nashville to Vanderbilt, because I was at risk of going into preterm labor at 23 weeks, and I think I was 8 days, 9 days, because I was right there, close to 24 weeks. Um, so I had to be rushed to Vanderbilt. My mom rode with me. My mom was my biggest supporter during my pregnancy. My mom rode with me, and my dad met us at the hospital, because my parents were very big. Even though I got pregnant young, they were very supportive, because they always told me, if you get pregnant young, you're going to keep it. And I didn't believe in abortions. Not for me. If that's something that you believe in, you go ahead. Every person is different. But for me, I did not believe in abortion. But at that time, because I was dilated to 1 centimeter, and they could see the my water sac, which is what holds the baby, they rushed me to Vanderbilt. And when I got to Vanderbilt, it was very overwhelming. I'm pregnant, young mom, never dealt with this before. It was terrifying. Being told that you are in preterm labor, and I had to meet with the NICU team because they didn't know which way um, my delivery was gonna go. They didn't know if I was gonna go ahead and have to deliver her early, because if my water breaks, there's nothing they could do but to deliver her. And that was really scary because they said there was a chance that she wasn't gonna make it because she would have been just 24 weeks, because they had to wait. I mean, because they had to do it before 24 weeks, because at 24 weeks you can no longer get a cerclage because it's too risky. So I was right there because the 24 week is the cutoff. So had they had waited any later to rush me to Vanderbilt, I would not have had that chance. I would have just had to let my body go into labor when it was ready. It could have. They said it could have been days, could have been weeks, but um, if um, if they weren't successful, if they weren't able to successfully, because the water sac was in the way, to do the cerclage, they wouldn't. But or if there was a risk of them breaking my water. With their cervical cerclage and with how me being dilated, there was a high risk of them breaking my water, and I would have went into labor. So I was overwhelmed with paperwork. I had to meet with the anesthesia team because to get a cerclage, they sedate you and put you under, um, because it's a medical procedure. So, and my mom could not go in the room with me for that. I was in the room by myself. So they prepped me to do their cerclage in the room by myself with a team. Thankfully, I had a very good team that advocated for me, that stood by my side the whole time. They were very supportive. So they remind me of what's getting ready to happen, they tell me, and then they sedate me. Thankfully, when I woke up, everything was good. The surgery was a success. But the next few months of my pregnancy were difficult because I was. But anyway, sorry about that. I had to be a mom. My daughter's 3 now. So with a 3-year-old, there comes with things that you got to do. But anyway, the next part of my pregnancy was very difficult because I was 1 centimeter dilated. There was a risk of the stitchings pulling and opening, and my body trying to fight off the stitches. So I had to be on bed rest, and I was not able to do much. I wasn't really able to walk up and down the stairs, so I was on the couch most of the day, and a lot of times that's where I would sleep. Um, my parents were very helpful with getting me up and down the stairs if I needed help, but most of the day I spent most of that time on the couch. But I was also still a full-time student, so to keep me distracted, I was taking my classes online, so I would do my schoolwork. I would watch TV, and that's when I kind of got into the kind of the love of football. So I would watch football with my dad, and I would watch shows with my dad, and I would binge watch TV shows to keep myself entertained. There was times that, which isn't healthy, please don't do this. There was times when I would stay pretty late because I had insomnia, binge watching 911. That was my favorite show at the time, 911. But I make it to um 32 weeks um really well. I had my baby shower in October 31st, which is her grandfather's birthday. That's when I had my baby shower. So it was on Halloween. No, Halloween Eve was when I had my baby shower, the day before his birthday. Had my baby shower. I was, I think, 36, 35, 36 weeks at that time when I had my baby shower. Um, was having really bad contractions though during the whole day. My fiance and his mom threw a birthday party for his dad that night, so I had my baby shower that day. Then I despised against my family. I wanted to support my fiance. I went to his dad's birthday party, my future father-in-law's birthday party that night, and I was kind of miserable. I was contracting. So later that night, my fiance had to take me to the labor and delivery because at that time you no longer could go to the emergency room. It was now labor and delivery. And keep in mind, I forgot to mention, I stayed in the hospital. I had really bad kidney infection, so my pregnancy with my daughter. I was in and out of the hospital, in and out the hospital, which was terrible. But anyway, I had to go to labor and delivery, and I had to be on the monitor. Um, thank goodness everything was good, but my blood pressure was elevated, and I had already had a few elevated blood pressures, but they had gotten my blood pressure down. Everything was good. I was sent home. The next 2 weeks, I think I had went one more other time. Everything was good. I was sent home. Now comes Thanksgiving. So we do a split Thanksgiving. We spend the first day at my parents' house. We eat. I pig out. I pig out. I enjoy the food. And I eat chitlins, which my fiance jokes and says that's the reason why I went into labor is because I eat chitlins. Um, then we go to his parents' house. I eat food. I enjoy myself. And um, later that night, I'm feeling good, having really bad contractions. At this time, I forgot to mention, at 36 weeks, I got my stitches out. So at this time, I have no more stitches. My body's doing what it's doing. I go to labor and delivery because I'm just uncomfortable. I'm having really bad contractions. Um, blood pressure's high, but they get ready. They say you're going home. Contractions are just Braxton Hicks. It's not time yet. Doctor leaves to go what she thinks is to get my discharge paperwork. Come to find out, my urine came back with protein in it, which is a sign for preeclampsia. And of course, I kept having high blood pressure. So they say, you know what? You're not going home today. You're not leaving this hospital um, until you have this baby. So they say they're going to induce me because I was at 37 weeks, and I think 37 weeks and 2 days. Um, they say you're going to be induced, and the next time you leave this hospital, you're going to be a new mom. So I head to the hospital. They tell me they got to wait for a room to open up. So I stay in that triage room, and then early that morning, I think around 3 o'clock, they take me to the delivery room. They start me on Pitocin, and they bedridden me because they had to induce me for medical reasons. Because I was being induced because of preeclampsia, I had to be bedridden. And because I was bedridden, they had to put a catheter in me. So, again, I went into the hospital. I went into triage around not triage. I went to my delivery room around 3 a.m. And I did not end up giving birth to my daughter until that Saturday at 9:11 a.m. So I was in labor for over 24 hours. At 8 a.m. that night, 8 a.m. 8 p.m. Friday night, or sometime, I can't remember. I think it was 8 p.m. It might have been earlier than that. Sometime around there, I had called my mom because they said they were going to break my water. And my mom stayed in the hospital overnight. and she was there. Her and my fiance were there the whole time until I gave birth to my daughter. And like I said, she came into the world at 9:11 a.m. Saturday, November 27th. And giving birth to her was difficult. Both of my pregnancies with both of my kids were difficult. Giving birth to her was difficult. It was to the point to where I struggled. First, when I told around like 7 a.m., I pushed for about 2 to 3 hours. 7 a.m. when I told them that I felt like I had to push, it was in between shift change. So my nurse on my doctor on call at that time had told me, hold it, don't push because they're in the middle of shift change. So my mom had to advocate for me because when you're in birth, you ain't stopping. So finally, somebody came in and I pushed for roughly 2 hours and I gave birth to her at 9:11. So after that, um, they cleaned her up. I'm sorry. I'll be right back. Let me go deal with my son. Okay, guys, sorry about that. I'm back. So, anyway, gave birth to her at 9:11, and um, she gets cleaned up. She comes to get chest on me. She gets laid on my chest, and I'm just blown away. I didn't necessarily cry with her at first because I was just so taken aback and so like my emotions were all over the place. But as soon as they laid her on my chest, I cried. Um, my mom stays for a few minutes, but my fiance's family calls and says they're on the way up to see her. So we get taken to our postpartum room, mother baby on the mother baby unit. They take us to our room, and here's what starts a long stay in the hospital because of my preeclampsia. So with preeclampsia, if your blood pressure is too, it can cause your blood pressure too high, which can cause you to potentially have strokes and seizures. So every time they would take my blood pressure, it would be skyrocket. So what ended up happening was, at least 3 days in, we had to say no more visitors, because it was just overwhelming for me. So we couldn't have any. So we had to say no more visitors, and except for my mom and obviously my fiance, because my fiance would have to go to work at night, so he would stay with me during the day, and my mom would stay with me at night. So I was never alone, um, because I had preeclampsia. It was very, very, very difficult for me to do a lot of things because of the high blood pressure, which would sometimes cause headaches. So I think at like day 4, because I was in the hospital for a week, I think at like day 4, they ended up having to give me magnesium drips. So I was take me and my newborn baby, and my fiance at that point, he had called off work to be with me and help me with the baby. And so at that point, they had taken us back to the delivery room, because that's where they do the magnesium drip, and they had hooked me up to the bed, and I had to be bedridden for 24 hours to be on the magnesium drip, to try to bring those blood pressures down. So I was on magnesium drip for 24 hours. He would have to. I was trying to breastfeed, but it was very difficult, so I ended up having to give her formula. Because it was just too difficult for me. My body was tired. My body was fighting. So ended up having to give her formula, even though I really wanted to breastfeed. It just didn't happen for me with her. But thankfully for my son, I got to breastfeed with him for roughly 6 to 7 months, which I was very happy about. But back to my daughter. I was on magnesium, and I had to be on that for 24 hours, and so I couldn't do much bonding with my baby that day because I couldn't get out of bed. I couldn't get to her, but thankfully my fiance was very helpful with her. Um, so I finally, they finally at like on December 9th. I finally get to go home. Everything looks good. Finally get to go home. My mom had to take me home because my fiance had to work. So my mom took me home, and at this point, he was still on night shift, so he would get off at night, come sleep a little bit, and then get up and help me with the baby. He had stayed with us for a while in my brother's room because my brother was in he had just joined National Guard, so he was in AIT, um, but he came home. I think he was in AIT, so we had a shed outside. So he was home. He stayed outside in the shed, and let my fiance have his room. So he stayed outside in the shed because it had a couch and it had a TV and everything. And it had heating. So he stayed outside in the shed, and my fiance stayed in his room so he could help me with the baby. So he would get off of work, sleep for a few hours, help me with the baby during the day, go to work at night, do it all over again. Um, so we brought her home December 9th, and she was home, and her first Christmas was amazing. Uh, Adjusting to motherhood wasn't that different, but it was definitely different between kids because with my daughter, I had a bunch of help. My mom would get her at night so I could go to sleep. I mean, not at night. My mom would get her in the morning so I could go to school because at that time I had decided to go back on campus. My education was very important, so my parents had agreed they would keep Aaliyah during the day, so I can go to school. And then after school, I would go to work because new mom want to be able to take care of your baby. It was my parents' responsibility. So I would go to school. After school, I would go to work. I would come home, and then I would get off at midnight. A lot of times she would be asleep, but I would do the nighttime routines because she was still waking up every 2 hours. Then I would do it all over again. And weekends, she was mine. I got to spend as much time with her on the weekends, and then sometimes on the weekends we'd go to her dad's house. Now she's 3. I have a 1-year old, and it was a big adjustment from being with from giving birth to Reggie, from giving birth to Aaliyah to giving birth to Reggie, because with Reggie and being Reggie's mom, I do a lot of it, um, a lot more of it myself. My parents still play a big part in their lives because my parents live 20 minutes up the street. So, and they do quite often have sleepovers at my parents' house. But for a short period of time, I was working, and my mom would take care of them during the day. But now, since we have our cleaning business, I clean at night and I stay home with my kids during the day. So it's a bit more adjusted, but I'm a big testament that in life you may have challenges with being a new parent, but as long as you work hard, like I have 2 more years. I graduate June of 2027, so I have less than 2 years until I graduate college with my business degree. I have 2 businesses. One, I have Rose Designs. I create T-shirts. I have a shop. My shop will be down below where you can where I have digital products in my Shopify shop where they're custom made T-shirts and cups and things like that. So if you're interested in that, you can click the link below and look at my shop. And I also own a cleaning business for my family where I clean at night. So I'm a living testament that just because you have a kid young doesn't mean your life is over. And I'll be real with you, it's not always easy. It's a bunch of late nights. I had many moments of doubt and I had plenty of sacrifices, but I learned that every challenge was building my strength, resilience, and purpose. When I felt the weight of the world on my shoulders, I realized that I wasn't just doing it for myself, I was doing it for my children. And one of the hardest things to overcome was the idea that I was behind because, like I was telling you guys, I was in college and I had to redo it over again. And then something happened and I had to redo it over again. But I'm still pushing through and I graduated in 2027. Um, The but I want you to remember this. Success looks different for everyone. You're not falling behind. You're building something meaningful. One step and one day at a time. So, to every young mom watching this video, I just want you to know that you matter. You are incapable of incredible things, your dreams, your hopes, your future. It still matters. Your voice still matters. You're not just a mom, you're a voice of nature. You're learning to juggle, grow, and inspire, all while raising a human being. That takes courage, and you have it in you. If you ever felt like giving up, please don't. If you ever felt like you're enough, remember this: you are. You can still pursue your passions, build your empire, and live a life that makes you proud. Let your story inspire someone else. So, yeah, sorry about that. Mom life, but let your story inspire someone else. So, thank you for being here with me today. If this message resonated with you, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, and make sure you hit that bell notification down below. And most importantly, please share your story in the comments below. You can inspire someone. And I can't wait to hear you guys' stories and see who I can resonate with. And I'll see you in my next video. Bye.